We can spoon the remainder of this pan sauce just on the side, because that'll get gobbled up. Halibut is one of my favorite fish ever to cook, to eat all the time. We're really lucky in BC to have fresh halibut almost all year round, but we're coming to the end of the season now, so I wanted to share this recipe that I created. It's so delicious, you can whip it up in 10 minutes or less, and it really has big, bold Mediterranean flavors, which I love. So we're going to do a sun-dried olive, cherry tomato, caper, kind of a sauce with our seared halibut. So we're gonna start off with some olive oil in a pan, and we're gonna add our finely diced onion, and we're just gonna let that soften down a bit. To that, we're gonna add 2 garlic cloves, and you don't want this to brown, just to soften. When you start to see it becoming a little bit translucent, we're gonna add in our capers in brine and our sun-dried olives. Sun-dried olives are quite rare. They're delicious. They're packed dry in jars. They're gonna look a little bit wrinkly, but they're salty and delicious, and I think it goes perfect with this recipe. While we wait for that to cook down, I'm gonna season our fish liberally with just some salt and pepper. And just remember to bring your fish up to room temperature. I wouldn't leave it out for longer than an hour. You don't want it cold from the fridge. So we're gonna add in our capers. Make sure you take them out of the brine. And our sun-dried olives. If you happen to have salted capers and that's all you have, just rinse them because you don't want it to be too salty. We're now gonna add our white wine, let that cook off. And the reason I'm not adding in the cherry tomatoes yet is if we add them in too soon, they're just gonna cook down and all you're gonna get is that cherry tomato skin. So we want the cherry tomatoes to give us that fresh flavor, but we're gonna add them in at the last minute. So once our wine has cooked off, we're gonna add in our cherry tomatoes, let that go for a couple minutes. Then we're gonna remove the sauce from the heat, sear our fish, and when the fish is almost cooked through, we'll add it back into the pan. So now we can add our cherry tomatoes in, and we'll just let those cook for about 5 to 10. Season it with a little bit of salt and pepper. And if you did want to get this going quicker, you could have your halibut in another pan searing, ready to go. If you don't and you're not in a rush, then we can just wait for this to finish, put it in a bowl, fry your fish in the same pan, and then add it all together at the end. All right, so you can see the cherry tomatoes are starting to really cook down. And now is when you want to take this out because you don't want the skins to be completely coming out. So now we want our fish on a high. I like to get a really hot pan with grapeseed oil so that you get that really nice deep brown crust. I like to take the skin off of my halibut. I don't like the halibut skin. I don't like cooking it with the skin on. If you're not comfortable doing that, any fishmonger will do that for you. I don't like to flip my fish multiple times. I like to flip it once. If you keep flipping it, it's gonna start to break, and these pieces are so gorgeous. And once you have that nice sear, it'll cook through and just turn it right down. So you don't want to keep it on high for too long. I like my halibut just cooked through. I find it, you can taste the fish so much better that way. All the flavors come through, and you really taste the quality of the BC halibut we have here. So our fish is about a couple minutes out. I'm gonna add in our tomatoes, just scattered. And that juice is gonna help cook it through. For garnish, I like to garnish with fresh basil. Just chiffonade on top lightly. Don't douse it, just a couple little sprinkles. And then a drizzle of really good aged balsamic. There's a lot of great balsamic producers. Just make sure you're getting balsamic vinegar de Modena. This brand in particular is Vittoria Stents. They make an amazing balsamic. Reale is another great producer. So use your favorite balsamic. I suggest an aged balsamic for this dish since it's just to drizzle. Typically there is no cook halibut for this amount of time. It depends on the cut, it depends on the piece. So what you want to look for is that you just want it to be white and flaky throughout. You don't want any pink. You want it to be completely opaque. So when you see it kind of falling apart like this, you know we're almost there. So the skillet I'm using is one of my favorites. It's an enameled cast iron. I love this skillet because it goes from kitchen to table. You can serve in it, you can also bake in it, and if you take care of it, it'll last you your whole life. So the fish is done. It smells amazing. I'm gonna just get working on our basil for the garnish. We can spoon the remainder of this hand sauce just on the side, because that'll get gobbled up. You can mop it up with some bread. Just gonna sprinkle our basil on top and finish with our balsamic. And this is one of my favorite halibut dishes. I urge you to make the most of the halibut season while it's here. It's fresh, it's delicious, and I mean, what more could you want?